I am Michael DeVellis, the founder of the Powder Group, and I am here with the second of our weekly new programs, the Powder Group Conversations. The Powder Group Conversations is a 30-minute weekly session that will be live broadcast on Zoom exclusively for TPG Pro members and invited guests. For example, as Eryn Kruger Mccash is with us today. Very excited. We comped any of our local 706 and 798 members who would like to join us. We have a bunch of them with us live. Otherwise, really it's for TPG Pro members to be able to participate in the live program, ask questions in the chat if we get the chance to get to those, and also engage with the community that we love so much. So feel free to use that chat function during the conversation to engage with each other, shoot a question in there. Hopefully I'll catch it. And remember that all of these programs are now also going to be on the Powder Group Facebook page. The quality of those videos is not exceptional, so I'm not sure I like that part, but exceptional video quality on our YouTube channel at the Powder Group. And we will be launching our podcast in a few weeks. Once we get a little more content ready for it through the conversation series, we will be launching our podcast under the Powder Group as well. So I am very, very, very pleased to be able to announce that, because this means that all of the programming that we're doing in the Powder Group conversation sessions will be available ongoing. So you're going to be able to have a chance. If you're watching us live, fantastic. I'm happy to have you here. And if you do not get a chance to watch us live, you're also able to tune into any of these programs starting the Thursday following the program. So we do the programs live at noon Eastern on Wednesday. And then on Thursday morning, you'll see those live on our Facebook and the YouTube channel and our podcast. Enough about me blabbering about nothing. I'm very thrilled, because this is one of my favorite people in the world, not just our industry, but in the world. I am so grateful that Eryn Kruger Mccash, who we all know and love as one of the most inspirational and renowned and respected and loved professional makeup artists in the television and film industry, is with us today to speak about something very important, especially right now, as we're really dealing with having to find new ways of engaging, new ways of communicating, new ways of coming together. Eryn and I are going to be talking about the art of the team. So I'm going to bring Eryn on. Let's see if I can do this. And I love her cat. Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Good. Yeah. Don't be surprised if there's cats whipping by like this, because that's just their job.
I would have it no other way.
They like to, as soon as they start hearing people talking, they're just like, what's going on? They're always just right up in it. So don't be surprised.
I'm all in. And can you look any cooler with that hat on? I'm just like, I feel like
it's my default for not doing my hair today.
Oh, see, this is my default for not doing my hair today.
Oh, it looks good. And you've trimmed your beard. Very nice.
Thanks for noting. I did trim my beard. I want to say I trimmed it about a week and a half ago, and I've done some sessions. No one has said anything. No one's even noticed.
I totally noticed.
It was so big and like bushy, and now it's like trimmed down, and it's going to grow back out. I'm not going crazy with it, but
yeah. Thanks. No, it's great.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. And your husband, Mike, has my favorite beard in the industry. So,
well, he's growing it back out again pretty quickly. Yeah. I'm not sure if it'll get, all the way down past his collar, but yeah, he's growing it back out. I love it too.
Oh my, it's just, every time I see him without it, my heart sinks a little. I'm like, oh, he's so handsome, but I want that beard back.
Oh, he grows in like 10 minutes too. It's crazy.
I remember that he does. Thank you. This is a new program, as you and I mentioned to you when we spoke about this. This is a new program that we wanted to be able to provide sort of, short hits of information. There's so much content out there, Eryn. You have been so great. You've been a part of so many programs during the pandemic. I know you were just a part of the Pro Safety Groups program, which a lot of our members checked out. Great concept. I love Madeline, Karen, and Sumita. They're amazing.
They did a great job. They did really great job.
So much stuff out there, so much information. What I wanted to be able to do with the Powder Group Conversations is sort of tackle a lot of different types of questions, a lot of different topics, and let an artist or an industry, expert talk specifically just about that and focus on that. So you have been generous enough to do this program live for us in the past. We did this at our industry intensive television and film on the West Coast. going on 18 months ago or so now. This is a little different where we had your team with you there. This is just a dialogue with you about, what makes a team great? What do you look for? Without sounding like I'm just like fangirling you, you are truly known as one of the people that everyone in the industry loves working with.
Oh, wow.
And this is something that, and I'll tell this story. When we did that program, there was a special makeup artist in the back of the room who you didn't even know was there yet. And she raised her hand to ask a question. And she said, I just want to say that Eryn Kruger Mccash was the best department head I've ever worked for. And I was on this show, and it was V. Neal. It was V. Neal talking about—
I almost had a heart attack. I mean, I'm such a fan of V's, and she's been a mentor of mine for many, many years. And it's just been I've never worked for V. And so I've taught for her a few times on her big weekend extensive thing. And I just am a huge, huge fan of hers, as everyone is. And she's so much fun. And then she wanted me to, she said, I'm not busy right now. Can I come work for you? And I was like, yeah. So she came and worked. I got to watch her work, which was amazing. And then to have her say that about me was just, really blows your mind.
It does. Well, and she, as you and I know, V is honest above all else. So she is not going to say something she doesn't mean. So I just want to say again, I've been lucky enough to have known you for many years and had you be a part of the makeup show when I still was a part of that, on Makeup Magazine many times, including Hollywood in a recent issue. And you're such a giver to our industry. So thank you for that. The idea of team is such an interesting thing, isn't it? Because, I always laugh when someone says there's no I in team, but I'm like, well, there is. Like, there's got to be an I who's like kind of taking on the lead and running it. But the idea is not that it's not about the individual, but it's about the group. But learning how to become a great leader and become a good team leader is a process. So I have a question. Do you remember the first project in the industry that you were department head, or you were like leading your team on?
I don't even know if there was really a team. It was pretty much just me doing all the work. And I did that for a couple of jobs as department head, but I was like 25 or something, 25 years old. And it was one of those things that I had incredible mentors to follow after. Donna Messina, who's been passed on for a couple of years now. She was my boss on General Hospital. That's where I got all my union days. And she just by example showed, that you can still be the leader, and it doesn't take away from the fact that you are the designer, the leader of the department, by letting other people do cool things. So I learned that from her. And then when I finally got in the union and I worked for Michael Westmore, I saw how he could run like several shows at a time. So I started to get inspired by that. And I always said, if I ever get to be like a proper department head where I have people under me, that I would want it to be like how Michael runs departments, and how he says, he encourages people and he compliments them, and he's very conscientious of the fact that people have lives and health and family and things outside of work. So I wanted to be that person as well. I just wanted to have more humanity as a department head, because I've worked for several people over the years that did not have that kind of attitude. So I learned by default, I think, of how I'm not going to be like that. Right. I'm not going to treat people badly. I'm not going to remember that they have other things going on. And I always tell my team that too. Like, if you need to go to the doctor, like, just let me know and you can go to the doctor. Like, it's not, some people don't allow for that, or for sickness or for grief or for any of those things. And it's, I think it's really important to have empathy and to be human about things. And by the way, I just feel like I've been told this by other people, I should say, is that I have a good set of priorities as far as what really is important. And it's, I grew up in the hospital pretty much as a child. So I know where where the importance is about things. Like it's much more important for you to be healthy mentally and physically, and that's going to be a better benefit to me in my department than it is for someone that's suffering. So I just try and keep that in mind.
I want to talk about you mentioned mental health. How much of, and I want to jump back to the, what kind of what was difficult in the beginning, but you talked about that, and I think it's a really important factor. Being a department head, being a leader, leading a team. There's a lot of logistics, right? There's a lot of like, we must accomplish these things, and here's who's going to do it. We'll talk about that, but there's also that energetic part. How much of the job of being a strong team leader is about emotional, energetic, mental health versus getting the work done?
It's if it was only about makeup, wouldn't that be great?
Mm.
Because how much fun is doing makeup? But a lot of it is when you're in charge of people, you always have your eyes open to make sure that people they do their best work when they're happy, or you know neutral. You don't have to be happy all the time. I don't expect that. But when somebody is feeling better about themselves, they give better work, and they contribute more towards my mental health and my physical health as well. And I have, I've had the same. I have different teams that I use sometimes, but my main team, Kim Ayers, who's one of your favorite people, she always has my back, and she always has my best interests at heart. And she doesn't want to be a department head very often. So sometimes I can make her be my department head if I have to leave to go do another show or something. And it's not her most favorite thing. So she's always going back. If she sees that I'm looking a little, she's like, do you need a coffee? Do you want to go home early? Like, she's the one that's very like, has my best interest. So I think having a team members that always have their eyes open to make sure that everybody's doing well. She'll say to me like, so and so, if I have a big call of like 20 makeup artists or something, so and so has an issue with I heard that they have a problem with their nanny or something. Well, oh, go home. Like there are shows though that they're like, too bad, you have to stay, you said you'd work. um and that's to a certain level, like that's to a certain degree. I have had it happen with team players, not necessarily like my main team, but other like day players, where it's consistent to have somebody asked to go home, and then eventually that just wears you down and you just have to move on to find somebody else. So it's to a certain point. If it's something that's uh, warranted, and it's not somebody taking advantage of you, then I'm all for it. So you have to, at some point, you can't be taken advantage of.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I think that's the point, is when we know when we're being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
You sense it, you understand it. I want to jump back to when you first started proper, department heading. Was there anything in the beginning, because the powder group community, we've got a lot of early stage artists, we've got some experienced artists who are working on TV and film now, we've got people who just love to be inspired, and whether it's a bridal team, or whether it's a special effects team, or whether it's a straight makeup film team, it's teams. And so for those people who are looking to get into this idea of starting, hello pumpkin, to get into this world, what were some of the most challenging things in the very beginning for you about running a team effectively?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember back when I was part of teams for a while, where I learned how to be a department head. I was for a long time, like when I first got in the union, and there was like little jobs that I would do on my own. And then I was able to, I'm trying to think, I think there was a lot of jobs that I did where it was like me and like a hairdresser. So that was our team together. And we did that. I did that for a few years. And when I finally got, in the union, and I started doing more union jobs, and Michael Westmore, and just he was just such a savior to me and such an inspiration. I ended up getting, I think my first big job where I had people that worked under me was Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And I was kind of doing my own thing, and, kind of creating a little makeup effects stuff on the side. But I had a couple of friends that worked under me, but I already knew their work, and I knew that we would get along, and that I didn't have to worry too much about it. And so a lot of it is hiring people that you feel confident in their talent. and you're there for such a long day. You want to be with somebody that you really enjoy being with. So a lot of it was learning from department heads that treated me badly. So there were a lot of them. It just is the nature of, I don't know, it's like there's a power thing. There's so much of that going on in the country right now. But there's a power thing where I think a lot of it comes from insecurity, and afraid people are going to take their jobs, or afraid that someone will do better work than you. But that's who you're supposed to hire, is people that do a better job than you, because then you don't have to worry about it. You just like send people off and they do the work that you're like, can you do this? I did it. Fantastic. Off they go. You don't have to be there worrying or like trying to fix their work, or having conversations with them about like, you haven't done a good job again, or any of that. You're confident with people that you choose. And a lot of that is making good decisions on people you want to work with.
Let's talk about that for a minute. So if you were to list some characteristics of, and you're also known for having this, I call it the repertoire makeup team, like a repertoire theater. Like you've got the same cast of characters very often, and they're kind of moving in and out of your projects. What is it that you look for in a team member? Maybe you're bringing on new folks into the collective. What are the things you look for, or what are the characteristics maybe that your ongoing team have that make them a strong part of your team?
A lot of it has to do with confidence, and willing to try something new. I've had people that have worked for me before where I say, oh, can you do this for me? Oh, I don't actually know how to do that. I just said that to get the job. And you're like, okay, that's the complete opposite of how I think of things. I used to say yes to stuff that I didn't know how to do, but then I would figure it out, learn how to do it before the job, and then go in and do the job. So I was confident. I said yes to a lot of stuff. I think saying yes is a big part of it. I think that comes back to confidence, though. I like people who are very flexible, and who don't have a short temper. A lot of it is people that love working. They love to be on shows, and they love to work and create makeups. And a lot of times, where I'm creating a makeup look for a show, I watch the person do it, and then I make, they say, what do you think? And I say, oh, that's great. I think you should just maybe tweak this a little bit. They do it, and then that's it. It's that level. But there are some times when I have to step in and completely redo something, not myself, but have a discussion with the artists about what I want to see. And there's been times where sometimes I have to say, am I not communicating well? And they'll say, oh, no, you are. I think I'm not understanding what you want. And then you work together to figure out what you want the makeup to look like. So I try to let people kind of go off and do what they think is correct. And a lot of times it's what I want, because I've given good guidance, or I've given a picture or something. So I think that has a lot to do with who I want to hire, as people that are just confident. And it's just not like an overly confident thing, but
not arrogant, but confident.
Not arrogant, just confident.
I think that one of the, perspectives that's really interesting there is this idea of confidence and skill set and being able to do things. Is it more important that someone walks, onto your set, understanding and knowing every single thing you can potentially need them to do, or is it equally or more important that they're that malleable, flexible, ready to go, great attitude? Like, I know that they're both important, but if it's the choice of one or the other, which is your choice?
Oh, I'd rather have somebody that's, fun to be with, and flexible and ready to go and try something new. Absolutely. I know there was, I don't know if you know Melissa Buell. You might know her. She's a fabulous makeup artist. And she had just, she had a really tough time getting union jobs. And a friend of mine, Mark Shostrom, said, you'd really like this amazing artist. She was so young at the time. I think she was like 24 or something. And I said, well, I'll bring her on Glee and see how it goes. She can try it out. And so I brought her on. I just loved her. And then we ended up having this show, one of the episodes where everybody was a zombie. And I said, I want you to do one of the zombie makeups. And it was a prosthetic makeup. And she said, well, I've never done them before, but I'm willing to try. I said, great, because it's a background person, so I'm not as concerned about it. I can always adjust it. Well, she kept up with everybody else that had been doing it for a million years. Beautiful job. And I was like, see, you can do this. You have the confidence to say, I'm going to try it, as opposed to somebody else who's like, oh no, I can't do that. Yeah. That's like a real big red flag for me. I think it almost makes me kind of be like, oh, I'm not going to bring this person in anymore. I'd rather have somebody try it and maybe not do as great a job than have somebody that said, no, they won't do it. So I think that's a lot of it.
Is that no, I don't do it sometimes an energy of this blasé or laziness, or is it just fear that they're not going to do it well? Like,
I think it comes from fear. Yeah. But there are people that just say, I don't do makeup effects. And sometimes if I like their work enough, I'll bring them in to do, just beauty. But most of the time, my crew members that work for me and have worked for me in the past, I like them to be diversified, because it's really important to be able to send somebody to set that knows how to do all the things that are required of them. And whether that's doing prosthetics or doing beauty makeup or doing a beard or doing, bruises or whatever it is. I want somebody that I'm confident with as well.
I want to jump back to this idea of communication, because I think that, one of the factors in creating strong teams is excellent communication and ensuring
Right.
there's clarity and understanding. Aside from, verbally communicating, are there tools or methods that you use to show and communicate clearly what you need from people?
A lot of times I'll do, I just put them all away. Actually, I'll do like these little still laminated pictures of, the time period to be inspired by. Sometimes I'll put, I'll put some music on of the time period, and people will get inspired and to get into the groove of the look. And a lot of times I don't send pictures as much. I might give them an idea beforehand of what we're doing. I usually print things out. I still feel like visually, to have something physical is a lot more inspiring than having to like flip through your phone trying to find stuff. So a lot of times it's pictures. A lot of times it's letting people know what I don't want to see. I did a movie, The Prom, that came out not too long ago. Amazing. And the only person that had red lipstick on were really like Meryl Streep, and there was one other person that had red lipstick on it, and I wanted no other red lipstick. I want everything to be pinks and softer tones. I wanted her to be the one that stood out. Roy Helland obviously designed her makeup, has been her longtime makeup artist. But as soon as I saw her look, I was like, I don't want to have anyone else have that look. So I communicated that. Sometimes people still don't follow through, and I'd have to have people go in and change colors. But basically, you're showing people like the colors that you want them to use, and that kind of communication. A lot of times I'll go up to people and say, do you feel confident in the job that's been told you that you're going to be doing? Oh yeah, I feel confident. I get it. It's like, or do you have any questions? Does this feel, is there anything that you're not understanding? And sometimes people will ask me, and it's, something basic that needs to be discussed. But for the most part, people that work in the film business, television or commercials or bridal, for the most part, have that skill, and that's and then to not be manipulative, is a big part of it too. But I think just having the communication where you feel comfortable to talk openly to people about what you want to see is important.
I want to jump back to red flags. You said red flags, and I love a red flag because it's, but I think again, because there's so many artists who are looking to either break into the union. We're in a pandemic. People are trying to get work even within the union, whether whether they're, a super established artist like yourself, or maybe someone who was so excited to just get into the union finally at the end of 2019.
I
This is going
know.
to be their year. So when people are approaching you, when people are, when you've got opportunities for folks, or people are asking for recommendations for people, what are the red flags in approaching you, or in etiquette about trying to get on someone's team? Or what are the red flags that you look for in behavior that people should avoid if they're trying to be a great part of a team?
Well, for me, I don't think there's any red flags as far as approaching me. Texting and emailing are so much less scary than back when I used to have to call people, which was 100 years ago on a telephone. That I'd have to make myself, like, I'd have to tell myself that I was working for me. I'd be like, I'm working for Ms. Kruger today, and I'm calling for her on her behalf. And that's how I could get it in my mind frame. Cause I was like, as much as people think I'm like total extrovert, I'm not. I'm like very much an introvert, even though I enjoy, hanging out with my friends and stuff. So to make that, have to make a phone call and people pick up on the other end and being like, I don't have any work for you, that kind of thing, was so hard to put yourself out there. So I totally get that. I've had that happen to me a million times. So nowadays, though, you can DM people, you can text people, you can email people, and it's a lot less. It's a lot less scary. And I almost always will return somebody's email or text. I just try to do that because I've had people that were good about that to me as well. So there's no really red flags about that. The red flags I have with people who are late, I mean, it's kind of like those general things, like, because ultimately I'm an employer, right? I work for somebody, I'm an employee also, but I'm the employer of people that come to work for me. So I think a lot of it has to do with people. Be quiet. Sorry.
Oh my
Mike's
God, I love
outside.
it.
You can see Mike outside, so he's
I love
crying
it.
for Mike. Um, um, but the red flags are people that show up late to work, people that consistently want to, consistently ask to go home early without good cause. People who don't listen to you, and if you say you have 15 minutes to do this makeup, let's put some red lips on and call it a day, get them out there, and they're going over and over. It's like a 45-minute thing on a background artist. Eventually, usually it's Kim that'll say like, hey, by the way, that person, you're like, yeah, you're right. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. So we try I have incredible patience. So I try for a long time to make things work, and sometimes they just don't.
Right.
So I try to make sure that I'm, not taken advantage of. I don't yell on set. There's no reason for yelling. It's much more just like with your parents when they say I'm disappointed in you. It goes a lot further than being upset or yelling at someone. I think I've only had to yell at like one person, I think once, and it was because they were pretty much putting my job on the line. And we were just kind of limping through the show and to get them to finish the show so we could move on. So you try as hard as you can not to actually fire somebody, because it's super traumatizing for everybody.
I think that people, you want people to be successful as
Oh
a
yeah.
leader. You don't want them to not be successful.
Oh my God, I know. And then it's like you try not to let it hurt your feelings when somebody takes advantage of you. You try to just put it in a great perspective on like, well, that person's this or that person's that. But it's like, eventually you're just like, well, no, that person's just an a-hole, and they don't care about you at all. So you just kind of back up a little bit and say, okay, well, it's time to separate from that person.
Yeah. I want to talk, you mentioned, background. When you're putting a team together, or you're looking at your team and saying, okay, I've got these roles, you've got your key, you've got your background supervisor, whatever. Are there different characteristics that you look for in someone who is going to be playing a role within your team?
Yeah, because I always have my eyes open. I'm always observing how people are acting, how they're running, if they're running background for me, or if they're in the trailer, or if they're being too chatty, or like, it's great to be friendly, but like, let's crank it out. So there are couple times when I've been like, I'll do like a mass text to everybody instead of just calling the one person out. Instead of being like, hey, you're talking too much. We need to like speed it up. I'll write a mass text to everybody and just say like, everybody's doing an awesome job. I think we need to pick up the pace and let's not have as much talking going on in the background trailer or background tent or whatever. Okay, great, no problem. You know, and so you hope that you kind of, it's a little bit passive aggressive, maybe not passive aggressive, but it's a little bit of like a softer way of doing, letting everybody know what I want. And then if it still doesn't correct itself, then you have to kind of, then you have to move into like a one-on-one scenario.
I think it also, you know, because the ones who are not doing that notice it's happening. And when you address it as a group, they say, oh, Eryn gets it, Eryn sees it, as opposed to that leadership thing. How does the role of a key in your world differ from, say, what you do? Like, you're maybe designing, you're doing this, and what does the key do on your team?
A lot of times with the key, I have had so many great keys. They're usually, you know, they read the scripts as well as I do. They make sure that we have, you know, all the supplies we need. We go over everything with day players and who we're going to hire, and they do the hiring, or a third makeup artist does the hiring. But a lot of times you want to take that kind of responsibility off of the department head or the makeup designer, because a lot of times, I mean, I know there's a lot of makeup department heads that want to do all of that, and I'm ready. I delegate. Like, I wanted to everyone to have their jobs that they do, and if somebody isn't picking up the slack, then I just take that away from them and put it on somebody else. And sometimes it just works that way. I mean, I've had that happen. I had that happen on a show. I guess it was about a year and a half ago or so, where the person that I thought was going to be responsible for one section of stuff just never like called and ordered the prosthetics that we needed. And so we had to pick up the slack for that person, which, you know, it gets old after a while. But the shows are so short, you're just like, well, they're doing a great job. They're with actors already. Like, we'll just let that go. And then you just don't bring them back again. It's just one of those things, like, you just have to remember. And sometimes Kim has to remind me too. She'll be like, you remember what happened? You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I'm way too forgiving.
We all need a Kim.
I know. So true. She's the best.
I want to ask you quickly, and I won't take too much more of your time. I told you 30 minutes. But you've created a legendary relationship with Ryan Murphy. You basically work on all of his projects across the board, from the
most of them.
American Horror Story, American Crime Story, Hollywood, all this stuff. So let me ask you this. I hope you don't mind the question. What makes you and Ryan Murphy a good team?
I think, part of it is that he's like 2 years older than me. So we kind of grew up with the same influences. I think that has a lot to do with it. So back when I started working for him on Nip Tuck, there were times when he would say, I want it to look like this film and that person and this look. And you're like, oh yeah, I know that. Like, there were so many references I think that I got of his, like probably 95% of his references that he would throw out there. People be scrambling to look it up, and I'd be like, oh, I know what he wants, you know? So there was a lot of that. Sometimes he'd be like, page 95 of the new Vogue magazine, I want it to look like that advertisement. And you'd be like, okay, well, I don't know what that is, so I'll have to look it up. But a lot of it is, I think that we got each other. He's just a funny person and a genius, and I tried not to bug him too much with stuff. So I think initially we just got along really well, and then it kind of just rolled over into you'd say like, I want you to go to this show, I want you to go to that show, and I was always like, whatever you want. So and it's been, oh my God, 18 years. I think this year's 18 years. So we've been together. That's crazy. Oh my God, that's crazy. So I've seen him through a lot of different stages of his career, and I've enjoyed being every part of it. I don't get to see him as much as I used to because he's so busy. I once in a while get to email with him, once in a while I get to see him. So it's part of, you know, him putting responsibility on other people too, so that he doesn't have to be as hands-on with everything. He still is designing everything, every show, directing a lot of shows, and I got to see him a lot more on prom because he was directing prom. So that was great. So, but yeah, I miss him. I miss seeing him all the time because there was a lot of times when he would come in the trailer and just hang out, and it was so much fun.
Speaking of hanging out in trailers, one last question before I let you go. Has anything about COVID-19 changed the way you have to lead your team? We understand protocol and what they have to do and all that stuff. And we've seen you in all your social media with all your protocol on. It's amazing. Great, great dramatic energies of these photos saying we have to take this seriously. But is there anything that you have to look for differently or you have to do differently as a team leader or look for from your team besides just following the rules?
I mean, a lot of it is sometimes we will have we'll have our visor on with our shield on, and you'll start to do makeup, and then you forget to put it down. So sometimes we'll say, "Oh, put your shield down," that kind of thing. A lot of it is rule following, and my team is really great about all that. They want to work, they want their paycheck, they want to be part of a cool project, and I think a lot of it is being flexible with new protocols because it's changing every week. Like all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, oh, we don't want you to use these masks. Oh no, we want you to use these masks. Oh, we don't like you like that kind of shield doesn't work anymore. You have to use this kind of shield. And it's ongoing. So you have to be really super flexible about following the rules. But my team is awesome about that. And we'll just say, this is a good place to eat lunch. Like there's people that, you can't eat inside the trailer anymore. And quite honestly, it's kind of nice not to have like a full barista situation going on in the trailer anymore, was always a mess. So we have a very clean, tidy, like trailer situation now, which is lovely. So I think a lot of it is just following rules and reminding people, not to, get too cluttered or keeping things contained. But for the most part, it's been fine. I mean, it's super hard and inconvenient and awful, but it's also been fine. It's we're a very flexible group, and we roll with it. I mean, I haven't even really experienced too much of anybody balking about anything. I mean, there's a couple people here and there, and I've heard somebody say that it was not a real thing. I was a hoax, but they were still wearing their gear because you have to in order to work. And it's crazy, right? But then
Yeah.
again, look how the country is right now. It's so
Yeah,
insane.
I hear you. Well, that's good. I think that again, what's interesting to me is listening to you talk about you and Ryan's team and so many other pieces. You use so many great words like trust and understanding of each other. And as our folks go back and rewatch this again, which I know that they will, I wanted to listen to the words you used about you and Ryan because those also really reflect upon you as leader as much as you as a part of a team. So I think that's amazing. And the last question I'm going to have for you is, and I would let you aware, what makes Eryn Kruger Mccash a strong leader?
I think you should probably ask one of my team members that, but I don't know. I think I prioritize things better than maybe the next person. I don't know. I don't get stressed out at work because it's all subjective and it's all, you know, I mean, I'm very good about having my boundaries with situations. I always want to be able to help my fellow team members. I think I just have good priorities. I think that's part of it. Is I think there's a lot of people that get really stressed out about stuff, and I just think my stress levels are. I think I have a very high pain tolerance too. So that has a lot to do with it too. But I think it's the choices you make and the team members that you have, and when things, try not to let the little things bother you as much. You can't control everything, so a lot of it is kind of doing that kind of thing of stuff you can't control. So I think that's part of why I mean I think you probably would have to ask Kim or Jamie Hess or
Well, I might just
one of
have
those people.
I wanted to ask them next, so we'll see.
Yeah,
Listen, Eryn, I adore you. Thank you so
I
much
adore you.
for everything you do for our community, and especially for the times you spend with the Powder Group. We appreciate it. I am Michael DeVellis. This has been the Powder Group Conversations with Eryn Kruger Mccash on
Thank
our
you.
team. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Eryn.
Be safe.
Bye, Mike. Bye, kitty cats.